Well, good morning, and it's not from the studios in the Albion studios, but live from the White Hart Hotel, a very historic hotel right in the heart of Lewis. So it's a good heart, a heart to heart, as one might say. And we're with you for the next 45 hour and 45 minutes, just to take a look at what's going on locally, nationally, a bit at a time, and so on, and not quite as heavy as we do get in the early morning stuff. I'm Keith Hayes. This is the White Hart Hotel, a really historic hotel, and yet with a touch of kindness and humor that you don't find in a good many hotels. I get in here at 7 o'clock in the morning, and the Shannon or Jane or sometimes Sally at the front desk, and with a great big smile on their faces at 7 o'clock in the morning. Would you believe? Big smile on their faces, getting the big roaring fire going. You can see that it's got multiple fireplaces, one behind us, and generally speaking, make sure that the day is being welcomed properly. And I'm just so delighted that we are part of that early morning loveliness, if you like. And I have no idea. Right, okay. It's early morning loveliness. We have a really good time, and they look after me. They make sure that I've got some coffee. They make sure that I have got the fire going in front of me. They make sure that everything is working satisfactorily. And all in all, it is a very, very pleasant experience. Now, we want you to share that because we are broadcasting from the front bar. Once again, very historic. There is a fireplace here, and embossed in it is a TP. And most people think that it's Tom Paine. But in fact, historically, it is suggested that it is not, that it is Tom Pelham. And the Pelham family, very distinguished from Norman times, and there are many things named after them. There is a pub called the Pelham Arms, but there is Pelham House, where this family lived uninterrupted for about 200 years or so. And Nick Pelham is immortalized in the local church, which is also almost 1,000 years old. And he went with a small band and fought off the French in the 100 Years' War. And he beat them and sent them packing. So he's a local hero, and he is buried in that church, and so is his son. They were a fascinating family because in those days you didn't have a police force. You didn't even really have an army until the king mustered one. But each squire, each knight would have a small number of men-at-arms. And these were the people that he put together and marched down to Seaford, as they say, and beat off the French. The point really is that he was a feisty character, and the king on one occasion said, "Nick, old boy, I need a few fighting men. Will you send yours to join my force so that we can go and batter somebody around the head?" And he said, "Certainly not. You're not getting my men." And He was thrown into the tower for it. And most people thought the reign of the Pelhams had come to an end. Not a bit of it. They still have an influence here, is the Pelham family. And their house is as old as this coaching inn. And it was Thomas Pelham who actually designed parts of this coaching inn, this old coaching inn. And that's the atmosphere in which we're able to sit and thoroughly enjoy ourselves, and invite you into, if you are such a mind, either through tapping in to miradortelevision.com, or actually one of our critics, not critics, but somebody who helps us by taking a look at things, suggested the other day that actually it is better to tap into Mirador Television rather than miradortelevision.com, because you get steered to the right location and you can actually take a look at what's going out live on our television operation. Now, here we go. We shouldn't we're showing the last bit live at the moment on our. We'll fix that as we go along. Now, where is Lewes? Lewes is in East Sussex, on the near enough on the south coast of the United Kingdom. East Sussex being a very rural county, and we as country folk, as it were, but full of history, absolutely bang full of history, because when anybody had a go at trying to take England as it was, and it wasn't even England, it was a bunch of fiefdoms, kingdoms. Whenever they had a go at it, this is where they came. So the Battle of Hastings, 1066, was along the coast. The Battle of Lewes, 1264, was right here in the town. The burning of the martyrs, when Queen Mary tried to reimpose Roman Catholicism on the country, took place. In fact, some of those burned were held in the wine cellars of this very hotel that you can see behind me. And those rafters, there is nothing fake about this hotel. Nothing fake at all. Those are the original woodwork. And it just shows how a hotel or a building was put together 500 years ago, 600 years ago, by local artisans. In fact, it works against us because it actually stops. It stops the. It stops the television waves getting through the broadband, and that's why sometimes it is it's not the greatest picture that you're getting. In fact, I don't know why. We seem not to be getting any picture at all. Oh, yes, it is all right. It's there somewhere. So that's where we broadcast from. And most people would say Lewes, and quite often you'll... Good morning.
Right, I'm looking for reception.
Right. Some people would say Lewes, and they confuse us with Lewisham in southeast London, and it is not. It is the county town of East Sussex, And when Brighton and Eastbourne were simply a glint in somebody's eye, Lewes was an important centre, instituted by Alfred the Great, and there is evidence of the Saxon way of life, inasmuch as there are little narrow lanes that feed into the high street called Twittons, and these exist to this day. And they were meant to steer people outside a relatively small town in those days, but to the heart of the town, the centre where it all takes place. And we, well, we should be able to. We should be able to. Never mind. We'll actually. We'll take a look at the gubbins in a little while. Let me finish telling you about the White Hart, because down the ages it also has seen the Russian foreign minister here negotiating with the British in the 1930s to try and find some accommodation on trade. And it is said, on good authority, that they played cricket in the in the hallways, in the corridor of this hotel, and that the Russian foreign minister rather amusedly wielded a bat and hit the ball back at the UK negotiator and made sure that everybody understood where they were standing. Would you believe it? Okay. We, yeah, I mean, that's where we're broadcasting from. And what we are going to encourage people to do, because we've only just started broadcasting from here, is to drop in and come and chat and have your point of view. Now, it's been an interesting week, because we had 2 days in which we had more people in here than you could shake a stick at. And then we've had 2 days where nobody's come in. So it all depends on what people are doing, what they remember, whether they've been invited or not. And it makes for interesting situation. Whether it makes for interesting viewing or not is up to you. Since you don't know what's going to happen next, some of you might find it quite intriguing. So there we are. Now, from time to time, we take a break, a very brief break, but it's now 9:58. It's 2 minutes to 10 o'clock. So I'm going to actually just play my favorite, which is the park or the gardens just around the corner from here, and which are attached to a very historic old house that was, well, once again, it would have come under attack from the Royalists, because Lewes was a Republican town, a Cromwellian town. But in fact, what happened was that a small force left Lewes and met the Royalists at Haywards Heath and beat them. So Lewes was saved. But this is part of the gardens. Well, yeah, there we are. He said, oh, we're not at all. I really don't know what's going on with and we are not getting a good picture now. Suddenly, we and well, it is. There we go. Not a great picture, I'm afraid. The internet has let us down again this morning, but we are working as hard as we possibly can. It actually does give us some measure of a picture and maybe even a little bit of sound. But well, you can't have everything, as they say. You can't have everything. And we, as you can see, we are a bit frozen at the moment, and not a good scene at all. But we'll just have to we'll have to live with it and improve it for next week. Perhaps what we'll do is we'll cut this Friday a little short, so you don't have to suffer a bad picture forever. But that's the Grange Gardens, and the house that stands there. The right, for some reason, odd things keep cropping up. The house that stands in the gardens of that park is Southover Grange, was lived in by the Newton family, who were Republicans. And they fought on Cromwell's side during the English Civil War. And they later curried favour with the king and the Prince Regent in the 1800s, who came to Lewes a lot because he liked the racecourse that we had, would stay there from time to time. And he would actually smuggle his mistress in. And it is said that he actually married Mrs. Fitzherbert. And then it was annulled because there were rules and regulations about who the future king could marry and whom he couldn't. Obviously, not applicable today, but in those days, you had to watch out. But he would stay the night with her and then skip out the next morning, or she would skip out the next morning. Probably she, it's truth be known, and they would carry on like that, and that was royalty back then. And I think some people would say, well, it's royalty a bit now, particularly with Prince Andrew's antics. It's well, we're not getting much joy out of that. Let's just take a look at some of the things in the newspaper this morning that aren't headlines. Well, I mean, the front page is the fact that a senior MP has been caught. In other words, somebody looked over his shoulder and saw that he got a phone and he was looking at porn while he was supposed to be paying attention to the debate in the House of Commons. He is undoubtedly there because he was needed to count for the vote. Oh, yeah, that's a lovely little yawn. To just prove that we have been up for God knows how many hours this morning. But he was caught looking at some naughty pictures on his phone while he was sitting in the House of Commons. And they actually haven't charged him with watching naughty pictures. They've charged him with let's see. Well, stuff like anti-feminist stuff and so on. All right. Is what a difference a good rest makes. The inside pages show Her Majesty smiling and in good form and greeting. Who's she greeting? Ignacio and Paolo Cassis. She is a birthday break in Norfolk, and whoever the Cassis are. I mean, the Cassis that I know is a drink. perhaps that's who they are. They either invented or their family invented or owned the secret drink. The apparently in Ukraine there is a group of about 10 Russian soldiers who have been so vicious and so nasty that they are now known as the Despicable 10, and they are wanted for war crimes. Wanted quite desperately. The Labour Party have admitted that a deputy leader was at one of the parties that took place that in some ways a part of all this nonsense that is going on about were they breaking lockdown rules or weren't they? And oh, you naughty Tories, look what you've done. And then it turns out that Labour is just doing as much, if not more. And they've lied about it too. Certainly not we went there. No. It says naughty Tories. And yes, we were there. We've taken a reading and somebody's got a little bit of a video clip. We better hold up. Let's see. Anti-Tory tweets of QC advising Sugrave on Partygate. Keir flouted COVID lockdown guidance at his own birthday party with 2 cakes. Oh, God. The Tories had 1 cake. Now it appears that Labour has had 2 cakes. It gets better, doesn't it? There's no money left. Liam, there's no money left. Byrne, guilty of bullying. A former Labour cabinet minister will be suspended from the Commons for 2 days of bullying a staff member. I guess this is some bullying. It's a bit amorphous in my view. We really, what is bullying? It could be infirm, couldn't it? Right. Now, Priti Patel. We can finally mend the broken asylum system, she says. And what she's proposed, which has caused mayhem amongst a good many MPs who touch, you can't do things like that, is she was going to send asylum seekers to Rwanda for assessment, so to keep them out of our hair. And of course, people say, well, you can't do that. I see no reason why not, actually. But I think that most people have got some idea that Rwanda is a very backward African country, when in fact it is not. It is a country that is actually becoming the jewel of Africa, that it's got a modern economy. It has mended its fences. It was accused of genocide, but genocide is no longer an issue. There are some people that find every reason why we shouldn't. And the Archbishop of Canterbury, Marcus Welby, has weighed in saying, oh, you can't do this, can't do that. They don't think things through. It's a lot of emotional responses. A final day out. Becker visits Powell's flat at Harrods. Boris Becker, the rather attractive personality, tennis champion, who did a lot of commentary for the BBC after he retired from actually playing, he's going to facing prison because he lied to the examiner about whether he'd declared all his money. And if you declare bankrupt, you have to tell and list everything that you got. It's not yours anymore. It's up for divvies, if you like, to those people that you owe money to. And so he got caught in that sense. But he's now saying, well, I'll face the music in the hope that he won't go to prison. So dramatically, he went and said goodbye to a friend yesterday. All the drama of the last goodbye. And we still don't know whether he will actually go to prison. Now, we think that we've got funny people in our assembly, in our government. Is the Premier of the British Virgin Islands has been held over drug smuggling. He's the Prime Minister. He's been at it. He's been doing the very thing that he is supposed to be actually pushing down on and stopping. Would you believe it? That's the British Virgin Islands. Now, the gas suppliers in Germany are preparing to pay Putin in rubles. And this is seen as a backdown by the Germans and to some extent the French. The United Nations chief blasts at this absurd conflict. And something that is of interest to me is the little headline, the sub-headline says, nuclear war? Well, we all die someday. A chilling World War III threat from the Kremlin's TV mistress of spin. And actually, this is a friend of mine, Margarita Simonian, who is the editor-in-chief of Russia Today, which is, it's not the chief of spin at all. It is a legitimate broadcasting outfit that does tend to break the rules, but nonetheless, it's a legitimate one. And Margarita has sort of waxed lyrical, as indeed she can do from time to time. She gets a little intense, and she's upset a couple of people by saying, well, a life is expendable. And actually, I think that she's right. We are in a situation where life and the things that are important to us have turned turtle because of COVID and because of the ramifications afterwards. So I think that Margarita has not stepped that far out of line, but we are looking at absolutely everything at the moment. Now, don't think I'm an apologist for Russia Today television or for Margarita. All I'm saying is that I know this lady, and she is a thinker. She doesn't shoot from the hip, but she is quite devoted to the fact that Russia has a point of view, and that it is as valid for her and her co-workers to subscribe to that point of view as it is for us to subscribe to a totally different point of view. So poor old Margarita is the TV mistress of spin. Dear. That's the bit about Ukraine that I found slightly amusing. There's not much about Ukraine that is amusing, but that was one of them, I think. 90 years after Stalin killed 4 million with famine, is Russia's plot to seize food from the war zone. In other words, the food that is being grown in particularly the eastern seaboard areas, the Lugansk area, where, according to the BBC News this morning, is that they are busy moving a whole population out of Lugansk. And I find that interesting because I know Lugansk. I've worked there. I've lived there. It wouldn't be my town of choice to go and spend any length of time if I wasn't working. But nonetheless, it was a thriving little community, and they've had to move everybody out because it is now under threat of invasion. In fact, probably has been invaded. But what he's done is started to export from Ukraine food back to Russia, and this is on the edge of the famous steppes, the long rolling meadows, if you like, plains that are a central feature of inland Russia, the inland Russias, let's say. While I was there, the fruit was falling off the trees, and a beautiful fruit it was too, because the growing conditions are excellent for fruit, but they have no means of exporting it. And if, in fact, the EU had done something sensible, it would have made it able to export in those days, 10 years ago, instead of some of the pretty little things that it did do, because that would have got a cycle going that would have been difficult to have broken. Anyway, the Russians are busy taking the food from this very fertile section of Ukraine and taking it back to Russia. And so Russia's plot to seize the food from the war zone. Where are we? You can't make me. Teens hardwired to ignore mum. I don't know what that's about. Now, anti-oil anarchists smash up petrol pumps. Oh, right. Well, we can't go without somebody being so vicious about their beliefs that they don't actually do considerable damage. So the anti-oil anarchists, they feel it is their right and proper duty to smash up the petrol pumps that deliver this foul, obscene energy source. God help us. Right, well, we're up to Little John. Why is the law still indulging these eco-lunatics? Just stop it. We'll come back to that in a minute or two, because I think that it is time for us to take a look at some of the little videos that we have. Let's try this one, shall we? That's New Haven. Now, perhaps we can explain why we're showing a little snippet of New Haven, because New Haven is an industrial port. It is not one of your pretty twee places where you would go for lobster and crab. It is a pretty dour port where the ferries come in from France, where various boats go out carrying fertilizers and so on. Not exactly the greatest picturesque scene if you want to live in a nice port next to the sea in on the coast of England. But it's been abused over the years, so that it is far worse than it really should be. It seems to be. And one of the things that happened was they built a ring road, which stopped people going into the center of the town. Well, it made it difficult. So the center started to die. And now I noticed that the ring roads act almost as a wall. And one of the successful projects from the EU's point of view around Europe are how walled towns have been attractive. The walled town in Poland, in Warsaw, is one in point. It's a good way for people to enjoy in an enclosed space the rejuvenation, the rebuilding, in fact, of the old town in Warsaw, because that was one of the travesties and tragedies of the Second World War, when the Russian forces encouraged the resistance movement in Poland, in Warsaw, to take up arms against the German invaders. The Poles did so, and then Stalin failed to give the backup, thinking that he would rub out two sets of potential enemies, if you like, or resistors in one blow, and he did. But what happened was that the two Poles and the Germans fought themselves to a standstill, and the entire town was blown to bits. And it's now the most attractive old town, probably the most attractive in the whole of the old Eastern Europe, the rejuvenated Eastern Europe, because it got lots of backing from the EU to rejuvenate. It has been redone, and the one in Warsaw particularly has been reconstituted because nobody could remember what it looked like, but it reconstituted from the paintings of that part of Warsaw, and encouraging the townspeople, the good townspeople, to try hard to replicate what they lost. And they've done not a bad job of it, not a bad job at all. Where are we? Well, yes, we're in Warsaw, aren't we? We're in Warsaw. But another signal success in rejuvenating a town centre is from Vilnius in the Vilnius is the city, and Lithuania is the town. I mean, sorry, not the town, the country, if you like. Yeah. And it is a very interesting and decent place. It is indeed, and it was done with EU money. Now, it seemed to me, and I actually just did check with a planner, that a sensible use of the 5 or 6 million, drop in the bucket really, but the 5 or 6 million of monies given for the rejuvenation of New Haven, the port of New Haven, is that they could actually do something similar. Now, so far, there is no signs that they're going to. They're messing about with echo type buildings. So if you drop a spoon in the library, is that the reverberation won't go around the world. In fact, it'll be quite safe to drop a spoon in the library. But the town itself will be the sort that the citizens want to live in. And a lot of people say, I wouldn't live in New Haven for all the tea in China. They don't quite say that, but they are trying to do their best to cover the tracks of the old lot and to employ new thinking and new ideas, your children's ideas, to try and make it a pleasant visually, a visual treat, rather than the once again, the people that I was so scathing about this morning, those people who don't go into work, don't really pay so much attention, and just do their bit. They do their bit with no concern about what's good for the local citizen, what's good for environmentally. Well, yeah, they'll give you a big song and dance about the environment. And mind you, when it comes down to it, a lot of what they say doesn't make a lot of sense, but they haven't got the money yet, so I guess we can't be too hard on them. I do tend, particularly on a Friday, to wander a little bit, and I'm not showing a great deal of initiative. It's Friday. it's the last show of the week. But there are a number of important things which we can and we shall look at before we go off in a couple of hours, well, an hour now, and say toodle pip. And that is one of them, the rejuvenation of New Haven with EU money, and make it look as if it's a vital town. Not make it look, but put its vitality back again, because it's got all the sparks for it. Oh, right, you naughty little fellow. Let us see. Well, I think it might be a good idea to play something, don't you? That's Susan's early morning rock. Early morning photos by Susan Harris, who gets up well before the chorus of dawn and snaps away to show us what it's like at that hour in the town. It is now 10:32, and we've got approximately an hour left, although, as I say, I think that probably what we will do is we will cool it a little bit and perhaps only go this morning, since it is Friday and we haven't got a multitude of people in here. We'll go to 11 o'clock. But we do need to bring to your attention various things, and that's what we're attempting to do. And the Pelhams, not perhaps as well known internationally as the people who are those incidents, those things that have left reverberations around the world, like the Battle of Lewis, like the 1066, and how cutting down on the length and breadth of these issues, and then reporting on them as they are, just shows how condensed reporting can get us over as much as anybody else. We desperately need somebody to help us, and we've got one or two lined up, so don't be put off. We're not actually going to come and get you and force you into these situations, but we do. Let's look at let's look at what's going on the inside pages of the newspaper. I'm beginning to get a bit bored, and as I'm sure that you are, with people who give in before the jury is brilliant. Now, one of my favorite columnists is a man called Tom Utley, a giant on Fleet Street, and he writes a column in retirement for the Daily Mail, and basically he's written a column that says, if I actually ran for public office, my own sons wouldn't even vote for their dear old dad. And he does this delightful, piercing commentary, but amusing to read. in which, as he says, the present level of politicians is such that nobody really wants to know them anymore, and that they aren't making great inroads into giving us a better society. And I go along with that. Hello and a very good morning to you. We have a lovely lady who pops her nose in from time to time. And not only that, but she has a little tipple at this hour of the morning, and I have to say that I am very envious that she should be able to do that, while I am stuck at this desk with this camera, having to talk to you instead of having a nice glass of wine. Never mind. Perhaps what I'll do is I will have one once we're off air. Well, she's having a tasting as well. Now that's what I call a bravery. That's being bold.
Yeah, Pinot Grigio. So that's the dry.
Now the story opposite to that is another speculative thing about how life started on Earth, and it says that there is a bit of rock that came from outer space several billion years ago, and it could easily have started. It had all the elements to kickstart life. I'm not sure why I would want to know that, because after all, if there is a little soup mix floating around on this rock, do I really want to know? I suppose I don't do. I can't get overly excited about it. I lost the plot and let it go. Oh dear! It's a little baby was beaten to death by a mom who just lost them. Well, she got so frustrated with the little one and lost her temper and beat him to death. It's rather a sad story, that. I was an outcast, shunned like a criminal, just for wanting to keep my girl guides safe. Well, there's a lady here who she was targeted by woke warriors for trying hard to keep the girl guide group together through these bad times, and she got the worst of the woke wrath thrown at her. Interesting stories on these things, but none that one would say get your teeth into, Keith. Passport chief hauled into number 10 for a dressing down. Now that's what we really like. We really like that, because that is a kettle saucepan is black and white. It's taking up to 14 or 15 weeks to get a passport, and at long last, the number 10 has given up pleading with the civil servant who runs the thing. Is they've hauled him in, and he's been sat down, and they're going to give him a bad time. Now, I don't know that once again it's going to do much good. Whether in fact the civil servants don't just go away and nod and say, yeah. Let's keep things here. But nonetheless, it is a very sad commentary on the civil support to our parliamentarians, the elected people, when they say that they don't need to come back in to their office, and then they have 8, 10, 12, 14 weeks to get a passport. Now, most people don't think that far ahead. I know I actually had to get a passport a couple of years ago within 48 hours, and I managed it. But they were different times, a different era. And I was lucky that we were able to do it in those days. So the passport men or women have been called into number 10 and told, get your act together, get cracking, let us see what you can do. To make sure people are getting their passports on time. And apparently Jacob Rees-Mogg, was on a tour of civil service facilities, knowing that the big complaints were building against the government for not getting passports out to people on time. And he found an office was almost empty. And upon saying, why is this office empty? It's well, because people are working from home. But what do they do working from home? Does that actually speed up how we get our passport? No, sir. 3 bags full, sir. And they have decided enough is enough. And this department is going to be chastised. The trouble is, it'll be chastised. Everybody will forget about it. Right. Rape claims hit a record high at 184 every day. Why would we be interested in rape? Mainly, I think, because once again, the police have lost the plot. They are busy chasing cybercrime. All well and good. That's one of the things we've just been talking about this morning, cybercrime. But they've lost the plot in terms of looking at it in an overall sense and how they can stop cybercrime occurring. And instead have really done things with staying at home and not coming to grips with it. And Jacob Rees-Mogg said, hey, come on, we're paying them very handsomely in the main. And what are we getting? Is a look at legislation and a review in making sure that the efficiency of the civil service should be done properly, and it don't, if you'll excuse the expression, it don't. It's official. 7 hours sleep is best for the brain. Not 8 hours, not 6 hours. But 7 hours is exactly how much you should have if you're going to lead a nice, fruitful life and make a great contribution to your community. Huh. Not sneering at us anymore. Is not sneering at us anymore. The Chinese have got a real tragedy striking again with COVID. It's on the rise, heavily on the rise, and they've got to do something about it. And they're taking very drastic and dramatic efforts. It's blockading families in their homes, forcing children to wear hazmat suits, robot dogs patrolling the streets, and other ways of cracking down because it's the police there who would see what I've been talking about, which we hopefully might get back on the bar if we can. But we are not paying attention not paying attention by far to the things that need to be done at the ground level. And it reminds me, there's one thing that I really want to show, that just saying, oh dear, and leaving the offices and the studios and the workplaces of the civil service empty, when we need a great deal of work done on these things, that they are falling behind, it just does not make sense. Now, let me see whether I can find one video that I quite like, and it is appropriate to the cause, but when you need it most, it is never here. So well, I don't know which one of these it is, but let's try that one, shall we?
They call me Mr. Keith. Well, in 1940, they didn't call me anything because I was baby Keith, baby Bunting, and ready to face the first decade of my life, which was 1940s. Eventually, in 52, when we start Jubilee celebrations, I was at school at Bishop Vesey's. In that first decade, before I got there, we were at war, or at least we were suffering from 1945 on the effects of war. So I was only vaguely aware, as I went past rubble, what bombing was all about, what transport it had taken, or the privations of the people as they saw war vehicles in the streets, and very little in terms of comfort, the things that we would appreciate today, at the pub and travelling by bus. These are all vague memories to me. And the planes overhead. I remember once saying to one of my great aunts, "Aunt Lil, why did God make Germans?" To which she made the reply, "Hush, child, hush." That was the life in the 1940s to the 1950s. And then off I went, they call me Mr. Keith, to grammar school. Oh, the winter of 1948, that I do remember, one of the fiercest on record. Then to Bishop Vesey's. What a life. What an interesting life as we enter Jubilee year. It's over now.
Right, that was life in that first decade of the Queen's reign, 1952, 1962. And some of it looks very old-fashioned and outdated. Indeed, it is. And yet, some of it was preferable to the stuff that we've got today. And we should really be aware of that. And take stock when we are looking at, because you cannot assess the present without having some reference of the past to be able to measure it by. And that's the way that we take a look at these things, and it's convenient to put it into decades. It doesn't have to be in decades. It can be all sorts of things. Incidentally, yeah, if you want a name on this cup, you can have it. It doesn't cost you very much. And the old steam trains, just absolutely fantastic. Really, really nice. And for that matter, the buses and the trams were good fun too. But of course, we had a gentleman called Beeching who axed a lot of that and did us absolutely no good whatsoever. None at all. All right, it's 10:51. Let's just take a quick look back through the newspapers. If I can find them. No, I don't think I can. Once the pages start to switch around, it's almost impossible to find them on these systems. I mean, we are a bit Heath Robertson at the moment. I will apologise, but only mildly, because we are trying to bring you some sort of service, and we are slowly, bit by bit, beginning to achieve it. And that's no mean feat in itself. Let's see if there are a couple of other things around. What's this one about? All the best placed plans of mice and men. Uh-huh. Well, we'll try one more. Just said it was. He might march by. I think we need a time. She's absolutely right. To show it, we can't just keep backing up. It's okay at 8:00 when you're lubricated, oiled, whatever you want to call it. And it makes sense. Not absolutely sure that we want to do that at this particular stage. Yeah, let's see if this one will work. Oops. And indeed, it's the Jubilee that we will be concentrating on as we go forward into this year. Only 1 month between it and the celebrations in June. We hit the 29th of May today, 29th of May, 29th of April today, as we move into the month of May, the merry month of May, the 5th month of the year. And it just seems it was only yesterday that it was the third month. I mean, it was the third month, but it doesn't seem as if it was that far away. And there we got almost 2 months separating us. There we go. I'm very happy that we've been able to struggle through this first week, getting our act together, making sure that we're trying to bring you the right sort of thing. We are getting good response, not by people marching in, and that we can now work on. But people who realise that what we've got is an era, if you like, an era in which we are looking back at something that has gone forever, probably, and that's it. Mirador Television, broadcasting from the White Hart Hotel, and it looks rather nice outside. Is it nice outside?
It's like, well, as far as I can see.
Yeah, I mean, it looks nice through the window. So
I just love the odour of log fires.
oh yes, it's wonderful, isn't it?
It is.
I get in here at 7:30 in the morning, and the girls have just made it. It's
Right.
absolutely fantastic. Yeah.
Yes, yes. Well, we stay here from time. We're from Suffolk, and we have a friend in Lewis, and I think this is about our fifth visit to the White Hart.
Right.
We hope it continues to survive.
Well, I mean, I think that it will, because it's got so much history that
Well, Lewis deserves something like this, doesn't it?
it does.
In fact, every market town deserves something like this.
Yeah. I mean, it survived Tom Paine, so
Indeed, yes, yeah.
don't say anything untoward, because you're actually live on television at the moment.
Am I?
Yes, but it's nice. It's nice. The whole idea really is just for people to wander in, and you've wandered in, and I'm glad that you feel comfortable with Lewis.
Well, I feel comfortable with tradition, really, as a lot of people my age do. So, yeah. Long may it thrive.
Yes.
Is what I say.
Well, absolutely. I mean, one of the things that I was just mentioning is, and not too many people know, is the martyrs were burned at the stake here.
Yes.
But in fact, some of them were held in the wine cellar here
So
before they were
believe,
marched
yes.
out. Yes.
Yes.
Good morning.
We're on television.
You're on
Yeah.
television.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, good luck to the people of Lewis.
Thank you, and thank you for your comments. We have a couple of students that join us one day a week, and they're not from Lewis.
Yes.
And it's always good to, I send them out just to take a look and to come back and give their impression. And seeing it through other people's eyes is fascinating.
Well,
and seeing it through your eyes.
We contrast Lewis with Ipswich. I mean, Ipswich has a history, as Lewis does.
We don't have a castle.
We don't have a castle. The demographic of Ipswich these days is challenging. And the shops in central Ipswich reflect that, shops or lack of shops.
Most of our new businesses are started by immigrants.
Yes.
Which we're very thankful because, of course, we have a lovely spread of groceries, vegetables, all sorts, which I think British people lack the imagination.
I think you're right. A few years ago, I was in Washington, D.C., and the thing that surprised me was the number of Vietnamese delicatessens and so on. The war is forgotten, but it did create this influx of people who brought in a new type of not only food, but what astonished me is that you bought it by weight. Chow mein by weight.
There's a Kurdish shop like near us, and going in there is like going abroad.
Oh, lovely! Yeah,
Well, it is. It's magnificent.
It is. Yes.
And we have splendid Polish shops.
Yes.
All sorts. And my dear, the Soma barbers. Oh, you
Yeah.
can get your ears singed anywhere you go. Anyhow, nice
Anyway.
to see you.
Nice to see you. And well, I shouldn't say welcome to Lewis because you've been before, but it's lovely to see you here, and I hope you enjoy this visit.
And we will return.
Good.
Right, bye.
Bye. Yeah, there we are. Some people who appreciate that we have a unique town here, and it is now. It's 11:02. We've gone over the 11-minute mark. 11 hour. 11 o'clock mark. Let's put it that way. But I think that we've had a fair run for our money this week, and we will say, I think, goodbye now. It was rather nice that the whole idea of Mirador was as it started in the week, so it has ended in the week, and that we have got a little bit of input from some people who simply wandered in to the White Hart, wandered in to this bar. And that we were able to reflect a little bit at what Lewis is all about and what we would like Lewis to be. All right, let's say toodle pip. We won't be here, well, not unless war breaks out or something. We won't be here until next Tuesday. But then I hope that, first of all, the quality of the picture will be much better, much better. And that we will then have the team have been standing by so that we can see what problems we've got and try and resolve those problems. But bit by bit, we do have people who are good old regular favorites, like Fergus Woods and his wine. Actually, we hope that Sarah Fitch Hayes and her art, which is always interesting to say the least, is when you start to sell pictures of a Marmite jar, then it's interesting. It's interesting. I know. There we go. I will now say goodbye and toodle pip until next Tuesday, when we'll be back at we start at 8:30 in the morning, and our first hour it takes a serious look at what's going on, and we even have a sort of fairly harsh comment in that hour. But then we tend to move towards a gentle chat and some of the interesting things that is happening in the world, some of the interesting things that surround us in Lewes, and some of the things which happen here that would be of interest to those people who are 5,000 miles away. So thank you for being with me. We hope that we'll be back. And toodle, toodle, toodle pip.